Good night, everyone.
Evening blessings and salutations.
Good
Good
evening,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
night. Night.
How is everyone today?
I don't really want to talk about that. It was a wild day. Anyway,
All your days are long.
I know, right? Halima, how you doing?
I am doing exceptionally well,
I
despite the
know
day I
that.
had.
Yes, you are in all your splendid glory. And welcome, Miss Nikia. I got actually, Debbie, you could do that
No, go,
intro.
you're doing good. Go ahead.
No,
That's what
but
I'm saying.
no,
I'm
no. I mean,
good.
you can't say nothing to Halima all your man. Oh God, man, that's all. How's everybody? Pinky, Karen, Lucien, the artist, Debbie, of course. How you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Doing
Have
good.
fun.
Insane.
Nikia's mic is muted. Oh, okay, there we go.
I'm
Well,
good.
um, Nakia, this for all our listening audience out there. We have, of course, Halima returning with us and Karen, and we have Karen's daughter, Nakia, who has joined us this evening.
Good
Um,
evening, everybody.
Thank you for coming aboard. um, I had asked several people, some younger folk, to come on as well, but um, because of health issues, they were not able to. So I
Mhm.
just want to send healing energies to everybody out there. Um, so, did you guys, y'all were saying you wanted to talk about something before we jump in?
Well, we usually talk about the
Post.
posts them that we always talk about posts. So you can select one, or we can go with what Mr. Llanos wanted to discuss earlier. I
I
mean, it's up to
think I
you.
think I think it's fair to have a group uh, discussion. Debbie, I'm sorry. Debbie, you got
I'm
issue with
just
that?
listening.
Apparently,
I'm
Debbie, there's something wrong.
no, I'm
Because I
just
know this
listening.
this this post. I think this post stood out pretty much most of the week, which
I
is
think we get like 75 comments on it.
I think it
84.
allowed people to have
84.
exercise their creativity. Like
exactly. It was a fun thing.
It
it's
was
almost
very
like
Well,
fun.
brainstorming, like what you did in class. They give you a topic and you just.
exactly.
It
Ran
was
with
good,
You know,
and it was not negative in any way. It was a
I
very
don't, yes,
positive.
I agree,
and I think
Karen.
it was. I thought it was a very mature conversation.
I,
I
Very
think so
mature.
I would
too. I
agree too.
agree.
I would.
Yeah.
I agree. It was fun
Um,
and it was mature. You know, you take it, you answer, you choose to reply if you want, if you didn't want to or you wanted to, and everybody did well. I mean, it was very fun.
Do you all
Nikia,
want to say what it is? Because remember,
I
YouTube
want to
doesn't know
ask
what we're
Nikia's
talking
opinion on
about.
that though, being
But
the
we
young
gotta say what the
resident.
post is. You gotta read
Oh,
the post.
sure,
I think I know
sure.
what
We
the
could do
post
that.
is already.
The post read what can you say during sex, but also at a family dinner. What's going on, man?
Nothing I want to repeat in front of my mother.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. That was
I
a
like that.
smart answer.
I like that.
Karen, you're raising a wonderful point.
But if she could say it at dinner, I mean, the words them that I use, you could say at dinner.
Let
You
me
could
read the
say them at dinner.
Don't
Huh?
put the young lady on the spot.
I'm not putting a young lady on the spot. I'm just saying words. It's like Karen said, we could be very creative with our words, right?
You can. I think my mother's comment was it encompassed everything that you could possibly say.
What did Karen say? I can't remember.
I think
I
Karen
will
had
I
several
will I will
comments.
repeat it to you verbatim.
Okay.
As for
Oh
Karen
wow.
Harden, 5 hours ago on Facebook. She said, waste not, want not. Make sure you eat it all with 4 L's. Exclamation mark. Because they have
Okay.
hungry people out here in the world who will want something good like this, and you're playing. Well said, mommy. Well said.
See, we
Look
talking
at that.
about food.
I'm talking about your mother never tell you waste not, want not.
You have told us waste
I
not.
always told them waste not, want not.
You have hungry
Exactly.
children in
Exactly.
Africa
So if
who
you
wish they
didn't
had
waste it yesterday, you won't have wanted today. Like I'm that kind of parent. So sit down and think about the
Exactly.
food you waste yesterday, and let that digest
We still
with the
talking about
hunger
food,
that
right?
you have today. Because they have hungry people in Africa. And I always tell my children when they come and say, "Oh God, mommy, I'm hungry." You have hungry people in Africa.
Okay.
But you
And
had
again,
another comment, Karen.
we're still talking about food. I just
We
want
are
to
still talking
that's
about
what
food. Yes.
okay.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We're
By the
still
way,
talking.
happy New Year, all. We just completely skipped over that. You know what's so funny about down here? Like usually everybody's all festive. A Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Me here, not at all. I don't think people like
I think it has a
people
lot
they
going on.
yeah
Yeah,
man with this
there's a
COVID
lot.
thing, people let me
2022 has, I guess everybody had high hopes
Mhm.
of it at least starting out um, on a better note, but there's a lot of people that have been affected
yeah
with
sick man.
COVID in just the last week or two.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
We got a
But,
lot of sick people.
The,
But at the
the,
same token, I mean usually we ain't had no murders on St. Croix yet, which is good. You
That is
know,
Yes,
I
good.
want
that's
sometimes
to
great.
I want to wish to the Latin community Feliz Dia de los Reyes. Today's Happy Three Kings Day, so I just definitely want to send that to my Latin folks. You
Mhm.
know, definitely get that out.
it's
I should
true.
have known in advance I could have taken the day off to observe this day, man. Keep, keep the tradition going.
Big day. It's a huge day in the Latin community, especially in
Yes,
Puerto
it
Rico.
is.
Yeah, in Puerto
Everything is
Rico.
shut down. I remember as a kid, we celebrated by putting grass in a
Mhm.
box next to the bed, and in the morning when you wake up, you would find a gift in it, and what that represented is that the camels would be fed, and because you fed the camels, the kings would leave you a little present, a note of gratitude
Yeah.
or to
My
share
grandmother said
thanks.
my grandmother said a
Yeah.
donkey. She didn't say camel,
I
she
didn't
said
know
donkey.
that.
So you said
Oh,
that
yeah.
the donkey was fed, so that's where you get the gift and all that good stuff.
Okay.
yeah. I
Mhm.
learned
Yeah.
that this year too. I mean I learned it last
Mhm.
year. That was
Interesting. I
very
just like
interesting.
having Spanish friends because you get two gifts. I had a Jessica. She would always give my kids their gift on the
Three
6th, which
Kings
was
Day, yeah.
good because what they didn't get for Christmas, she figured
Yeah,
it out by the time.
oh, that's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
I I didn't know about the grass, but that's good to know.
Were there any other posts? I actually liked the post that I shared. It was from a friend of mine page about your trauma is not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. I like that.
Mhm.
I thought that
And
Yes,
was
that's
a
true.
great
it
share.
is.
That's very true.
It goes back to
But the
accountability.
yeah, but the thing about it is like the person has to know that they went through trauma. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people they don't acknowledge it. They act like if they're all right and they're functioning like at 120%. But it's only when you see different things within their lives that you can like, okay, this is very traumatic. How come you're not affected by it?
So,
You know?
Mhm.
and that's just living an aware life, because like we talked about in the past, like when I started to realize like, whoa, I have abandonment. I'm like, me have abandoned me. But we don't realize when we show up in the world doing certain things or accepting certain behaviors that it is something that's happened in our life that either we brushed off or didn't realize that it had an impact. So
Yeah.
again, just living an enlightened and aware life. Was there any other posts?
Well, I had liked the video. I think her name was Keisha that put it up, but I like the one that CC also put up. Two videos went up today. Well, three videos actually that went up today. That was very good. The one CC's put up was about um, trying to help people who are grieving, and you could use it for trauma too, like people who are going through stuff. And instead of telling them how to feel, like you cheer up, don't feel so bad about things, how
Mhm.
that does not actually help the person. It'll make
No,
situation worse. It'll actually push you away from people,
Yeah.
that is
push
true.
put
Yeah.
put a wedge between the relationship.
Mhm.
Because going through want to actually feel, and they actually want to know that you are there for them by showing up and being supportive and just being there. Sometimes that's all you need is somebody to be there and comfort you without the advice or without the telling you how to feel. That was CC own. But then Keisha own was, I guess, I said a guy name was Kevin, and he was talking about the red pill and how we have these situations where they're giving you advice on relationship, and at the end of the day we have to vibrate if we're looking for love. Now everybody's looking for different things in relationship, everybody ain't looking for the same things. But if you are looking for a loving, committed relationship, you have to vibrate from there to attract that. And it's a very long video, but it's very good. I just wanted to touch on them two videos that was very good. So those were two posts, but they were videos. They weren't memes.
Okay, cool. Anybody else?
Mhm.
I know there was one that it's one actually Pinky did a couple of days ago. And I always talk about having a conversation. Remember from our early shows, I've always talked about, one of my lines was like, have the conversation. But Pinky had one that talked about the communication aspect of, clearly having the conversation. But it's not just having the conversation, is also comprehending, actually
Exactly.
listening, is actually taking time to listen and hear what you're
Mhm.
being told and trying to digest that and understand what's being said. That's key. That's elemental. So that was a nice one.
When I see the post, I thought about you, Janos.
Is that right?
Yeah, the convo. You have to have the convo. Remember
Gotta
who
have that
you?
conversation, man, because you gotta have it up front. Or else, you don't have any surprises. No, but Pinky talked about something I remember in those early shows where, and it made a lot of sense. Where, yeah, you could have the conversation, but people feel and react differently. You can't control how people may feel or how they're going, how they're going to react. No matter what you say, you can say up front, this is how it's going to be. Down the road, you know, I'll always go back to when you're dealing with grown up emotions, you're gonna get grown up reactions.
I
Yeah.
heard that
Mhm.
today. Somebody, I heard that today.
Yeah.
Mm,
Mm.
cool. Well, those were good. And like again, I for those that are in the group, continue to share, continue to enlighten, um, because you never know who you're reaching out, or who can get some kind of understanding from whatever it is you post. So again, we appreciate it. Um, but tonight, our topic is as a result of a post that was made by Halima on her personal page. Um, and it was that we wanted to ask, and again, for 2022, one of the things I really want to encourage is to have some younger viewers,
Mhm.
um, members to come on and talk, because at the end of the day, it's creating the legacy and we need you all to be involved. So, members, your children, your nieces, your nephews, your godchildren, um, we want to get them on to get their vantage point. But as a parent, as a mentor, what is it that you are teaching or have taught your mentees, your children, your nieces, your nephews about dating, relationships, finances, purpose? Um, Halima, what prompted you to post that, or to even ask your kids those questions?
So I asked in another group, the lady asked, what did your mother teach you about relationships? So that got me to thinking, along that line. But I know she never verbally told me anything. I learned everything just by watching. So that's why I asked my daughter, what did I teach you without actually saying it, just by observing me. So as usual, she was like, why you always coming with these conversations? Like, why you can't be normal? So so I was like, nah, I want to know what you learning. Like I teaching you unconsciously. So one of the things that I am very happy about, because that's what I'm trying to do, is what really set me off was, like she said, the one thing I have to say about you is, um, she said, oh, I learned not to bring home anybody who's not going to stay around. She's like, as old as you are, I only know three people you ever been with. And she's like, I know it's more than that. So I was like, yeah, it's been more, but not worth bringing home.
Wow.
So she's like,
Wow. She just
that's
put the
what she
work.
learned. Don't bring nobody home who's not gonna stay for a long time. So, and the three people she knew, like it won't like months. They've been in her life for a while, and I'm still good terms with them, and she's still on good terms with them. So she said that's one thing that can make sure like whoever you pick gonna be a good fit for you. She also said that she learned from me, even though she said she learned to spend her money wisely. Spend other people's money if you want, but when you're spending your own, spend your money wisely. So I was like, what? She's like, yeah. So I'm like, that's why you always complaining about the price or something. She's like, yeah, because I don't understand how you used to do it. No, they want $50 for pants. I was like, girl, it went up on our buddy. She said, yeah, because it was your money. That's
How
why I
old
learned
is
it because it's your money. She's 18.
18?
Yeah. So she said that's the two main things she could say just from watching to like to spend her money wisely and don't bring anybody home who not going to be around for a while. And I got some other stuff, but that's more personal. I don't think she want me to talk about. But
Right.
those were the two things that she was cool with. I asked her to come on and say for herself, but she's like, no, that's too much pressure. She's not doing that.
Oh gosh. Well, that's understandable. That's understandable.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, we have Karen's daughter.
Hmm.
Um, and you can feel free to say what you want, what you don't want, because I'm going to turn it around on the adults as to what your parents taught you as
And
well.
I can't beat you, so I can't put you out. You don't live with me. So feel free to you know.
I'm trying to look at the viewers to see who's watching the video, but of course, Louis told me to do it organically, but I had to take notes because I'm my mother's child and I live with my
Of
parents.
course. Of course.
So I took notes, but of course, like the responses will be organic. And if you see me looking away, it's because my dog is being crazy. But my mom has taught me a lot, obviously, in my 24 years. I feel like I'm about to give a speech. But starting with dating and relationships, like even though we've had this conversation yesterday and we probably had it many, many times in life, I don't think my mom has always been a mother, the best mother in my opinion. And she's always prided herself with being a mother first to us. And I think many times she put, herself as a woman, herself as a person, relationships and other things secondary to be the best person that she was to us. And inadvertently, she taught us how to put ourselves first. Like I know for me specifically, looking at how hard she had to work, how much she had to go through, how much she had to sacrifice. Not saying that I'm not willing to, but I know the cost of doing those things and what she had to give up. And for me, like you could ask my mother, I'm very big on balance. I'm very big on my boundaries. I'm very big on respect. If there's anyone in my life who I feel like is coming over that or doing too much, like I would much rather not have an interaction. You are disturbing my peace. You're disturbing my balance, whether that's friendships, whether that's like anything. She taught me the importance of balance, and she's taught me inadvertently how to love myself first. When it comes to like relationships with your partner, she taught me two really important things. Well, three really important things that I think I still like. I was having a conversation with my boyfriend last night, and I literally heard my mother in my head like, "Do not listen to respond, just listen." Like just do not listen to respond, just listen.
Key.
um I have always been, I don't want to say a bad communicator, but I've never been a very open person. Like I've never been a child that's gonna cry and tell you how she feels. And like I probably do that with my mom, but I don't do that with other people. And it took me a while to get to a point in my relationship that I'm in now where um, I understand the importance of communication. I also understand the importance of not everything that my partner says I have to respond to. Not every thought I don't agree with needs a response. If that's what you think, that's what you think. If it's not hurting me, it's not hurting babies, it's not killing dogs, then it's cool. Whatever.
Hmm.
One thing that I literally think of all the time, when I started dating my boyfriend that I'm with now, we started dating when we were in college, like my sophomore year, his freshman year. And like I was working two, three jobs and going to school, and he was in school full time and playing basketball. And like our schedules were crazy. And sometimes I used to comment about it and be like, we don't ever see each other and we don't this and we don't go on dates and da 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 da. And she was like, think about the fact that this boy is literally maintaining a full schedule in school. He's playing 3 4 5 games a week, going to different states, going to different schools, and still finding time to make time for you, whether you guys are doing small things, large things. And she was like, think of the bigger picture, think of everything that a black man, and my boyfriend's very tall, so she would always say, think of everything that a black man that looks like him have to go through in the world, and then to come home and have to deal with somebody telling him that they don't do this or they want to do that, you know. My mom has always reiterated to me in my relationship how much I should be my partner's piece and really choosing your battles. Something I think about all the time. Like I said earlier, like not everything needs a response. Sometimes some things could be put to rest and then you address it at a later time. But being your partner's piece means a lot for me, specifically being a Black woman, dating a Black man, living in the South. Like being your partner's piece, just knowing everything that they have to deal with the minute that they step out of the house. You know, he comes in contact with people every single day that he doesn't know, that he knows. Like you just never know what could happen. So I think that's pretty much it for relationships and love. Um, Next to finances, I think inadvertently, my mother has taught me how to definitely be smarter with my finances for myself.
Mhm.
Um, I've always seen my mother work extremely hard. Like I'm pretty sure she's probably shared on this live how many jobs she's had to work while she was in school, raising the two of us, renovating a house by herself, and just doing a whole bunch of stuff. But I think like watching her have to work so hard for money just to be able to take care of us and take care of herself has just really taught me the importance of making sure that I work extremely hard for my own in life, and just be really smart about it and really managing my money, and working really hard. I don't know if my mom, well, I probably have shared this with you guys, but like my mom, I've always worked for the most part, done more than one thing for like income. Like while I was in school, I worked on campus, I worked at Foot Locker, I worked at Hollister. At one point, I was working at a daycare, going to school full time, working on campus full time. Um, and now like I have a job and I have two businesses. My mom has always, if you haven't known, she has a millionaire mind and she has the most amazing ideas.
Mhm.
And from hearing all of these ideas that I know are going to come into fruition for her one day, it has helped me to, when it comes to my finances and thinking about how I can create the life that I want to live, she has inadvertently shown me how to not give up on my dreams. um no dream that you have is too big and no dream is too small. Like something as simple as asking my client, not even asking, requesting that my clients, increase my monthly retainer. And I was in my head like, I'm not gonna do it. We've been working together for a year. My mom's like, no, you need to do it. You've been working hard, you've been doing what you need to do, and you've been doing it for a year. Have the conversation and go about it. So we, as if you haven't been able to tell by now, we're very close. um, so that's another thing with finances, working hard, really, really, really pursuing your dreams, um, and having multiple streams of income, no matter how big or how small. I do have a 9 to 5. I did the traditional go to college and get a job thing, but I also have a passion, which is my business, which I do every day. That I think in many ways she's taught me how to really start that and I guess do it in a time where nobody was really encouraging me or people that look like me or people in our community to do it. Um, also other piece, purpose. Mom, I think she probably still have it in her signature for her email too. But one of my mom's life mottos is live, love, laugh, or live, love, laugh, love, live. One of those three, one of those two. But when it comes to your purpose and finding your purpose, she's always reminded us that no matter what we do in life, have an attitude of gratitude, but also find times to like enjoy the small joys of life. Like not everything has to be hard. There are things in life that you can enjoy once you do what you're supposed to do. Um, and always be grateful. She's big on gratitude, and our family is extremely big on gratitude. And lastly, on self care, and I'm probably reiterating what I said earlier, but I have seen my wonderful mother work extremely hard all the days of my life, um, with zero support. And she did an amazing job. And eventually, at some point in my life, I may or may not be a parent. And watching her work 3 jobs, come home tired just to help us with homework, to my mother would go to work 2 jobs and come home and be putting up tiles and doing stuff in the house. Like I've seen her do things that honestly in my life at this point is extremely impossible to me. Um, but when it comes to like self-care, seeing how much she's had to do and not really she's found time, but like not the time that I thought that she deserved, to really spend time by herself, enjoy her own company, do things that bring her joy, has propelled me to embrace those things more. Like it could be something as small as taking a nap in the middle of the day. I'm gonna do it because I'm tired. I need a moment. I need to be able to refresh myself to continue going. And she's laughing because I take naps every single day. I work my 9 to 5 and I will take a nap. That's fine. I take a nap. I get up very early. I get up at
I
5.
have to butt in. I tell her grown people don't take naps in the
People
day.
do take naps, okay? They do take naps. But something as small as taking a nap it might seem like extremely minuscule, but like seeing how hard that she's had to work, and she didn't have moments for naps. She didn't have moments to rest. Like even things that she encourages us to do now, like take trips with our friends and go to different countries and travel with our partners. Like she didn't have many opportunities to do that. And seeing her not have the chance to do that encourages me to do it more. Yeah, I think that's it. And probably more will come in conversation as we continue to talk, but I digress.
Excellent. Excellent. Carrie, you did a wonderful job. But
I think
this
so.
is what and we were talking about this prior to us going live, that as parents and mentors, because I have godchildren that are like my children, um, you don't realize as a parent, as a adult figure in someone's life, the impact the smallest little thing they do has
Yeah.
on them, and again, in our community, a lot of time we don't sit down and have these conversations. These are just not conversations, especially we don't even talk about relationships, but finances. We don't even sit down and really talk about financial stuff until somebody hits a wall
Yeah.
and some craziness happens. And again, we just have to be very intentional because, growing up, I always heard my mother say, do as I say, not as I do. And we all know that doesn't happen, right? Um, and you teach either against or for something, not even knowing that you're doing it.
Yep.
So I'm happy that you are at 24 are living intentionally. Um,
I try. I try.
kudos, kudos. Um, Karen, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I mute my phone, my computer. And what you're saying, the unintentional lesson, I think a lot of the lessons she learned, like the biggest lessons that I'm listening to her saying that she learned was from my unintentional actions, or lack of actions. And like I mentioned last night, as parents, like for me, I'll be honest, for me, I was so busy being a parent, being a mother, providing, taking care of, making sure they're safe, their health. It wasn't until like last night I was like, did I intentionally sit down and try to teach them stuff? I was just doing. I was just surviving. And
Right.
we either surviving or walking through life. Like for me, I learned a lot of my lessons unintentionally from my parents.
Right.
Like when it comes to finances, I learned I what I didn't learn is how to. Like my parents made it happen. My father built an entire house and put his family in and never took a loan. But we at the time it was happening, you didn't know how they did it. So they didn't teach you how
Right.
to finances, credit cards. I didn't even know credit cards exist until I went to college.
Me
I
too.
was 17 and I got about 4 credit cards. Okay, so you know what happened. But didn't teach us that, but it wasn't that the lesson wasn't unintentionally or intentionally not taught. They didn't know any better.
Right.
And a lot of times we go through life and we hold people accountable. We hold our parents accountable for things that they didn't teach us. But sometimes it's because they didn't know.
Yeah.
Like no one taught them about balancing their checkbook, about opening bank accounts. And a lot of the lessons that we learned at some point I would always tell my kids, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my lessons I learned late in life, like I learned late about balancing my budget. And my daughter would tell you, I mean, I do spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentation, handout. I review their account. I tell them where they're spending their money and how much money they should be having.
Mhm.
But this is a lesson I learned through life. I had to learn how to make a grocery list. My mother used to go to the store and she knew what to pick up. Like I didn't, I used to be like, how she know to remember? And there's no list. My mother would go to the store and she gets everything. She would make sure she come back in the house, got food. Like how you remember, like me, I do a list, I got my coupons, I know which store I go into, which store I'm not going to, you know. But in all of that, she taught me how to make sure that, I mean, my mom taught me so much. She taught me how to sew. She taught me how to dedicate my everything to my kids. Like she did that. My mom didn't have friends come over to the house, hang out, do these things. Everything was about her kids.
For
And
girl.
that's what I did with my kids. Like everything, I've given up
Right.
so many things with no regrets. It's not like I gave it up and I sit here today regretting it.
Right.
I ended up with two amazing young ladies that I know if I put them into the universe, I put them out in this world, they can survive, you know. But the lessons that my mom taught me when I knew better, when I figured out how to balance my checkbook, how to maintain my credit, what 30, what 29, 10, 50 meant when it comes to my credit utilization. All of this, I was able, like, I send them texts. I was like, oh, look at this video. Because I live with the motto, when you know better, you do better. And a lot of our parents taught us stuff intentionally and unintentionally that they didn't know better.
Right.
And at some point, I used to be like, my mother paid the bills, but she didn't tell us how. She didn't tell us, you have to. I have a chart when my bills are due and what date I pay this with this.
Well, that's your analytical mind, but
Yeah.
Yes, but
I mean, it's good though because again, we don't realize how we show up, how it affects other people.
Yeah. Or how they receive it.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, Louis, as a are you intentionally? Do you think you're intentionally doing things, or have your kids ever come back to you and said anything that kind of shocked you, like, "Oh wow, they're watching me"?
My kids are small, so um, but one thing I've always instilled in the boy, well, Tomoy, he's 19. And I've said this before on the show where when it comes to relationships, I've always told, and I guess it could fall under relationships. When it comes to treating women, I always treat women with respect. And never put your hand on a woman. I always tell them that all the time. I mean, as probably as simple as it may seem, it has to resonate because as they become older, they need to understand how to treat women and how to be respectable and how to have conversations. And again, like I said, it's small. My other son, Trey, I know this summer he did something that I thought was very interesting, and I've always talked to them about saving money whenever they would get little monies here and then. I was talking to them about the importance of saving money, and one thing he did is he knew he was going away, so he actually went and he picked mangoes for weeks and sold mangoes and saved his money because he was traveling. And I used to say, hey, you need help. No, I'm a lone so his name was I'm a lone soldier, so I could do it myself. I'm good. His aunt used to take him around to the different gas stations and stuff, and he would sell his mangoes to the gas stations, and he saved up some pretty good money. I mean, and again, he's 12 when he's doing this at 12.
Mhm.
He's 13 now. So he understands the importance of I mean at that age what it is to have
But
money.
remember, but remember, it's not just what you say; it's
It's
also
what you do with it.
watching.
Mhm.
Right. What
Exactly. But he had a purpose though. So the thing is, he set a goal. He
right.
knew he was traveling. He knew he wanted certain things, so he did what he needed to do to get
Right.
his finances together. So I kind of was very very proud of him for that.
That's good.
Of course, Triana,
Already an
she's
entrepreneur.
yeah, and that's the word he actually used. Like, Daddy, I'm an entrepreneur. He said like that, but he's like, Daddy, I'm an entrepreneur. I said, all right, Trey, no problem. So he went. He's a good kid. Triana, she's young. She's 10, so she's just following and seeing and observing what's going on with her elder brothers, and so she's adapting to certain things as well.
True.
Um, that's yeah, like I said, they're still young.
True, but I mean, you can still teach them about
Of
finances.
course,
You
of
can teach
course,
them about purpose, trying to
of course,
figure
of
out
course.
what it is in life but again, they're gonna learn seeing you, seeing their
Mhm.
mom,
Right,
as
right.
well. Um,
And I think, sorry to interrupt you, Debbie. I think Louis, you have an advantage because you have younger children. I
Hmm.
think, or anybody on the call that has younger children, I have no idea. But in comparison to when my mother raised us, when her mother raised her, and there's so many more resources that you and your children have access to that we didn't have it. Like right now, if
Mhm.
there's something I don't know about credit, if I ain't asking my mother, I'm probably texting my aunt who's in Germany, or I'm looking it up online, or there's a 50 million videos on YouTube that could teach me how to invest in crypto in 20 minutes. So you have an advantage. And I think it's something that a lot of us on the call did not have in the moment. Like my mother said, all of our parents, including my mom, they did the best job that they had with the tools and the resources that they have. But
Mhm.
you have like 1,000 more
Of
resources.
course, of course.
Yeah,
And they're
true.
very savvy. They're very tech savvy. That's
Right.
one thing I have to say. The kids are very tech savvy, so information is always there available for them, and they're very inquisitive.
Yeah,
And
that's
so yeah,
awesome.
definitely, definitely. But
And
we
I
definitely we definitely do have the conversations about money, like all the
That's
time,
good.
because
That's good.
I always pick up the phone and say, "Daddy,
I need $20.
yeah,
dollars.
I want."
True. That's true. Lucien, although you are not a parent, well, you are. You have a child right there, but although
He look at you like, wait,
it's
what?
for baby, but I mean, you are now, I would assume, a mentor to other artists. Um, have people come up to you and ever said, I learned XYZ from you, or and it was somebody you weren't expecting that was watching you?
Hmm. Well, I think that it was so interesting you brought that up. I had a conversation with somebody, um, actually a family member of Louis, when this was Tuesday, and they were thanking me for, like, kind of taking her niece like underneath her, my wing, and kind of showing her different things, because she was like, she's been trying for years to try to really understand the art business and just different things that go along with it. And I was just like, I'm always willing and able to help. That's why I do different events and stuff that promote young artists and different people that, have not been discovered yet, to give them like an insight of the stuff that, or the speed bumps that I hit, so they won't, hit the same speed bumps, and kind of propel themselves, further within the game. Um, I also have, like, godchildren, I talk to all the time, because I try to give them the insight that I didn't have. A lot of times we have, our parents, as you say, do like I say, not like I do.
Mhm.
And I think that I got like the, I pretty much like taught myself, man. You know what I'm saying? The streets, between the streets and yeah, the streets and my formal education. And being around certain people. I had a few little mentors as well that I actually, like, hung on to and gained a lot of business knowledge. And I thank those people for that, because it's like, they let me see into, like, what entrepreneurship means, and how to be your own boss, and how to do your own thing, and
Mhm.
and those are lessons that stuck with me, till I'm out, and that's why I'm out here doing my own thing, because it's just like, after you get certain experiences, it's time for you to move on, it's time for you to grow, it's time for you to do different things. Just like how I was understanding Nikia's, reflection on her mom, because her mom gave her the tools that she didn't have at such an early age. And trust and believe, that makes a huge difference. If
Mhm.
you can, like, feed all the stuff that you have into a younger person at this age, she could do like quadruple what you're doing right now. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? And that is key.
Yeah.
And being able to understand that at a very early age when you have children, like how Louis has like younger children right now. Um, I mean, I see this every day when you go to these are Arab grocery stores and stuff. They get them little kids, them and they're running around. They're like, yeah, come, let me show you how to count this
They,
money. How to do this. Let me show you how to do that. Let me show you that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's
they're
stuff
doing
that's like,
work. They're doing
yeah,
work.
Yep.
they're doing work, but at the same time, they're being trained. You know,
Of
they're being
course.
trained from like a master's degree while they're a kid.
Yeah.
Because to get that huge business insight at such an early age, can you imagine when they get to like 20?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
so we sometimes think that a lot of people, like, because of their color and different things, that they get like a better head start on us. But it all depends on your parents, man. If your
Yeah.
parents have like the know-how to pass on our knowledge to you, then they should,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
especially when in this day and age, there's no excuse for it.
Yep.
So that's my part.
Intentional. Intentional
Yep.
Yeah.
parenting. How about you, Trina?
Well, now we're parents, and some of us are even headed into being grandparents. So now we have another lesson to pass on. And I put up a video today about how we to pass on lessons we aren't even aware of it from the time a baby is in the womb.
Yep.
And as
Mhm.
yeah, so as grandparents now we need to pass that on to our children. I mean, I learned that lesson years ago from Ian Levanson. She was teaching about when she came into the wall and the environment she came into and how chaotic. I can't remember the name of the book, but I
Mm-hmm.
was pregnant at the time and it taught me a lot. And I remember when I was pregnant with my last one, I was determined that she was going to come into the wall in a peaceful environment. So determined, I was like, nobody ended up in the room with me, not even my doctor. I was that determined that she was going to enter in the room. But I was determined through pregnancy that my children would know that they're loved and they're wanted. And I think that's where we need to really start as men and as women, knowing that though these babies are in our womb, we are having an effect on them. The environment has an effect. So if they're saturated in toxic environments, right, we see a lot of things showing up in the wall and we don't know how, but we have to dig deep. So that's my one start because, of course, we are going into grandparenting now, Um, what I taught my kids, I taught them many things, and I don't own up to the bad things that I taught them because they had stuff going on in my household that it just happened. Again, I did the best I could. I didn't know any better, and
What happened?
You
Yeah.
know,
She froze.
Technical
She
difficulties.
froze.
maybe your data
Um,
pull it.
no, but it's so true what she's saying. I want to piggyback off of that because I was telling earlier that when I was pregnant with my last daughter, I there was some crazy stuff going on in my household too, and I was acting like a person I normally wouldn't act.
Mm-hmm.
And that girl is my fighter. Like she is alpha. She goes from 0 to 3,000. She don't tolerate nothing. Everything is white or black with her. There is no gray. But when I think back about the environment she was in, it makes a whole lot of sense. So it is true. People really have to think about that when they are bringing kids into this world. That it really
Mm-hmm.
does start from there.
You know, yeah, I want to talk. Well, just kind of touch on with when I was coming up, and definitely, family is important. I mean, in the Caribbean, and especially in a lot of households. And I had it from both sides, especially the grands from both sides. My grandmother, who had the Hispanic or the Latin influence, was very authoritative, and my grandfather, well, both of them, and my grandparents, my grandfather, my mother's side, my maternal grandfather. I didn't know my grandmother because she passed. So I definitely had an influence there, and my uncles also. But coming up, there was always that wholesome, that family, unit, that everyone played a role. And my dad, he was. I learned a lot from him about becoming a man and having an appreciation for a lot of things, different things that a young man my age in the Caribbean, wouldn't necessarily be exposed to, like for like the arts, classical music. I grew up playing classical music and stuff, and it's some I don't know. I mean, it's something that I think people that are in arts, musicians, are probably were brought up like that, and our family was, our family had a lot of musicians in it, and that's from my father, my grandmother's side, but and also my uncles from my mother's side also, so that was a big thing. But learning a lot from my dad, especially seeing him handling the household as well, and from maintaining that household and maintaining everything while working. And I mean, he would come home late, and of course you come home, and when he come home, he want to relax, But it would always be where you would want to be with them, you know what I mean, and they'll spend time with you, and but then on the weekends, of course, now we're doing things. My father and I, we either building something or we repairing something together. It's always, there's that learning process involved with that. From my mother's end, and I think this is where, because I am like this with my children also. My mother was a social worker, so she worked at, back then it was called Department of Social Welfare. Now it's Human Services, and so I got that sense of caring and giving back and community from my mom. I mean, to present day now, where my role in what I do, managing a dental program for a nonprofit agency, and that's again a sense of community and a sense of giving back. So I learned that, and the appreciation for and the empathy and the compassion for others. I got that definitely, from my mind. I guess that would be the soft side. I don't know if you want to call it that. But it's just interesting how family plays a role. It's interesting how your parents set you up for life and to become extremely independent and not dependent of them.
Yeah.
A lot, your parents will always be there. And I'm fortunate to have them both in my life. They're married 57 years,
Oh,
80 and
that's
81.
beautiful.
80 and 81 years old, you know what I mean? So bless them. I love them. They know that we talk every day, see them every day. We tell each other
That's
we
sweet.
love them every day. So that's just how we are. Um, but it is important, I think, to understand, and to signify, like I said, you've been dependent on your parents a long time, but they set you up to become independent, and they set you up to be somewhat, I think, mirror like of them. Everybody wants their kids to do well. Everyone wants that, and I think I think they're proud to say that I'm able to definitely stand on my own and do what I need to do. Now, have I given them a run for the money? Many times, many times. There have been many times when they had to go to school for me. There've been situations with the law, but I've learned, that's just life. That's just life.
Middle
But thank
child
God,
syndrome.
I guess I know. But I mean, like I said, it's been quite the ride. It still is. I'm still learning from them. I continue to learn from them. My dad, believe it or not, at 81 is tech savvy, very tech savvy.
I love
Um,
it.
Let me tell you, there's a lot. I have an aunt. We have a family group chat with my father's side of the family, and I have an aunt in there that is on that chat. Like I don't even, and I'm thinking like, but at this age, like this is what you all do. But yeah, so yeah, you do learn from them. But sorry, Louis, Pinky, since you got cut
yeah,
off, I
Pinky's back, so let me get Pinky back on.
want to piggyback on what you said in regards to Danae and the environment she was conceived in. Well, she's a fighter. um, so it is true. I was agreeing with you that it's so true that people do not understand that it starts from in the womb. and before. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was saying, to be honest with you, or where I end up. But I learned a lot from my mom. Too much to list. My mom was she worked, but she was also an entrepreneur, and I guess I got my spirit from her. I learned from young. My mother never taught me like Pinky do this, this, this. She never gave me advice like that. She just did things. Like I learned to make beignet by making it with her, and that's how I teach my kids. Like, we didn't have chores like Pinky. You wash the dishes, you mop the floor. We just had to do things, and we just did whatever our strength was and what we wanted to do. So I used to cook. Nikki hated cooking. She used to clean the bathroom. I hated cleaning bathroom, and we just fall into roles like that. So when I was raising my kids, I kind of did the same thing. Um, so I passed those lessons on, like all my boys, my kids, everybody could cook, and everybody's better cooks than I am. And anybody know me that know how to bake. I am a very good cook and baker. My kids they surpass me. Um, my daughter make pickle soup the other day, and I was like, I don't want pickle soup. Like that just don't even sound good. Yeah, I was texting my friend. I was like, I'm about to eat pickle soup. I gonna cry. I literally wanted to cry. Actually, it tastes good. Yeah, pickle soup. So, it actually tastes good. I eat it the next day. And they don't actually to do the birthday cakes now. They don't even ask me. So, she make a red velvet cheesecake for her brother birthday. She's
Wow.
outstanding. And so, and they all do that. My sons, the cook, I watch my sons. They were both here. I watched that one, how he take such good care of his fiance. Yesterday we there, we can't find him. He there in the house vacuuming. She there outside looking for him, but he there in the house vacuuming because they were leaving yesterday. And if it's one thing I always says, when we always leave the house clean. I mean, that's how my room, that's how I was. I got clean, I got clean. He doing it. And he's 30 years old. He cooking, and they just, my boys are very nurturing to their girls, their fiancés, their girlfriends, and that's what they saw, you know. Never said like be this way. That's what they saw. So they learn a lot by observation in my family. It wasn't me telling them what to do. I mean, it looked like the things I tell them not to do was the things then they resist. Like I always having a saving account. Nobody, I guess it'll save, but they don't see it the way I do. And as the more miserly one of the family, they are more big spenders. They didn't get that from me. My daughter, she loved to work hard. She get that from me because she loved to spend a lot of money. She got expensive taste. And I'd be like, y'all, you got expensive taste. I can't take care of you. So she'll work hours and hours and hours to support her habits of expensive taste. She didn't get that from me. Okay. So those were the things then that I passed on, but I also passed on some negative things too, and like I said, not just me, both of us, we passed on some very negative things. My daughters took a very long time to date. But I wasn't dating after Vince, and I haven't for a very long time. And I think they were just following that pattern. So I had to tell my daughter, "You young, you need to get out there. You need to start dating. Don't follow me. I was married. I had kids. I don't live my life. You need to live yours." And I pushed them in them directions to get out there and have relationships and open themselves up. I didn't want them to fall in those patterns because I was in it. And I saw that they were falling in it. So the negative things then that I see, I do try to address it and talk to them. Another thing, like we were talking about Lucian Post, and I asked Karen Data to think. My mom never talked to us about sex. She never talked to us about relationships, and to me, those things was very important. So
Yeah.
my mother was like, who I tell my kids now, like, who do you talk to? Come and talk to me. Because who you gonna talk to? Your peers only? Your peers is gonna lead you with only what they know. Come and talk to me so that we can have a discussion, So we'd have some discussions, like the guys, they don't want to talk to me about certain things, which I understand. But my daughters, and then my youngest one, she's her father child because she's very comfortable with all kind of things. So Lucian had put up a post the other day, and I was talking to Imani, which is my niece, and my youngest daughter. And I said he had a part about private parts. So my daughter, the youngest one, was like, private parts, what do you mean, mom? This? And I was like, really, honey? you know? But, and Imani, and we were both comfortable, all of us were comfortable enough to talk about that post. It was the one you put up last week with the eggplant and stuff like that. But we spoke about it. So that was something that I had to learn because my mother never spoke to us about that.
Mhm.
And I think my curiosity, being around my peers, we just was doing things that I felt like if I had parental guidance, it wouldn't have happened. And I believe that because it didn't happen with my girls and it didn't happen with my boys because they had parental guidance. So that's a topic that we also need to embrace as parents with our children. We need to talk to them about everything, but not only talk, but also model, and not only model, allow them to talk to us. To conclude what Karen Data said about the self-care. I learned self-care from my children because I too was like Karen, dedicated to family. I never learned self-care from my mom. They wasn't into that. That generation wasn't into that, right? And so that's what I learned. But then my daughters and 23-year-old, should have been, well, she ain't 23 yet, but they're doing masks. And I used to say to her, why are you doing a facial mask? Your skin is beautiful. And they're like, we have to take care of our skin now that we're young. And taking baths and special baths and bath bombs. I never know about all these things. And my daughter, she just soaking in the tub with a bath bomb and candles. And I was like, why? You don't have a stressful life? Like I should be the one soaking. She's like, Mom, you have to relax. You have to, huh? You know? So self-care, I learned from my kids. So that's the other final part. Not only what we to teach our kids, but allowing our kids to teach us. Because it's a whole lot of things we could get from the younger generation that we need to be open up to learn together as a community. A community is a sharing. It's
Yeah.
not just one directional.
True. True.
That's it.
Halima, did you want to say anything to that?
Um, like I said, growing up, my mom never really said anything. Everything's by action. So I learned. I think I said this before, but I learned from my dad without him saying anything. Is that you could say you love somebody and still cheat on them. You could say you love somebody and still not treat them right. Um, and I learned also from him about which I'll have arguments about this, but my dad told me never to be with someone who doesn't have money. That was his big thing, and he did that because anybody like when I hit high school, I used to want to talk to me. The first thing he used to be like, and he didn't tell me, he was like, "You have a job, like this dude. You say you like he to work. What he to do? Like how he to making money? Like if he ain't making no money and he ain't working, like what you talking to him for? You don't need to talk to him. That's not for you." So that's how he showed me that you shouldn't be with somebody who can't support himself. Cause then how he gonna help you when you sick? I always had a job from since I was 12. I was doing something to make money, and he knows that. And like, to this day, he would tell everybody like my child didn't make her own money since she was 12. So for him, it's always been like if I say like somebody or somebody want to talk to me, he's like if they ain't got a job or they ain't bringing no money or making less than you, that's not for you. So that's how he used to be. And like for my mom, um, there was a time when my dad and my mom were like going through the divorce, and he was being vindictive. So to get me on his side in an argument, he was like, "I hope you know if I won't for me, you'll be dead. Cause your mom wanted to have an abortion," and I was like, "That's wrong. That's wrong." And I fight for you, so I was just like, whatever, dude. I gonna never be on your side. Period. I grew up in your house, so
Wow.
I will never be on my father's side. I grew up in that house. So my mom was like, "Are you?" I was on. Be like, I was like, if it's true and I'm still here, that made me love her even more. I'm
Right.
even more grateful that she's my mom because I didn't have to be here. My mom had me when she was 19, just starting college. And like
Mm.
I tell everybody, the reason my mom is not an RN is because she decided, you know what, I have a child now. The best thing for me to do is become an LPN because it was fastest track to being a nurse was being an LPN. So she dropped out of the RN program to be an LPN to make sure I was straight and my other, sister and brother was straight. So learning from her is once you bring children into this world, they didn't choose to be here, so you do what you have to do to take care of them. It's your
Yeah.
job to make sure that their life is comfortable because they didn't choose to be here. So I learned that from her. Like my mom have always sacrificed, sacrificed, sacrificed just to make sure that we straight. Now that she's older, I'm always telling her, go do your nails, go do your hair, do something to relax and have fun because she's never done that. My mom has never done any form of self care unless we force her to. So if my mom goes to dinner, it's because we forced her to go to dinner. Movies, because we forced her to go. She's never done anything for herself. So that's for me, which is why like once a month I do something for myself. Like my kids can't come, you don't talk to me, I'm unavailable on this day, and I go and take care of myself because I see how tired my mom was. Because at that time they never used to worry about your nurses. So my mom was pulling 18-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts. She'll come home in the morning, fix breakfast, make us get ready for school, make sure we out the door, and then have some sleep and then kind of back into cover our shift. So I don't think I've ever spent Mother's Day with my mom until she retired. Never
Wow.
spent Christmas or Thanksgiving or any holiday with my mom until she retired because
Wow.
they always had her working. So, and she's like, back then she had no choice. She raising three kids and she's not going to turn it down because she needs the money to take care of us. So that from her, that's how come when it comes to my children, them, I can do whatever it is to make sure they're straight because they didn't ask to be here and they're never going to worry about being here. So that's what I learned from her and learned to make sure I take care of myself because I've always told my kids I want to be a sexy grandmother. I ain't gonna be no tired grandmother. And I'm not going to be the kind of girl you see on TV. I'm the traveling grandmother. I'll be like, no, I'm not watching your kids. I have to go. I have a plane to catch. So that's what I'm going to be. So yeah. So I learned from her just by watching her. Like self care is a big thing. And once you decide to bring children in this world, it's your job to take care of them. It's your job to make sure that their life is straight. And there's a lot of things she did that I didn't like. But as I got older, I realized that her mom didn't teach her anything. She learned everything through survival tactics, getting out there. And especially when she got pregnant with me, it was a wrap. Like my grandmother had nothing to do with her about that. So, and because she got me out of wedlock. So, Christian family, Antigua Christian family, and it was
Mhm.
just like, yeah. So, from then on, from 19 until whenever, she's been in survival mode. So, I couldn't fault her for the things she did or didn't do because she
Right.
didn't know any better. And even now with finances, that was a big thing for me too. Like I didn't know what no credit score was. I didn't know what a credit card was. So when you get out in college and you on your own for the first time, it's like free for all. Like this is free money.
Free money. They give you
I
free
get so
money.
much
Okay.
Great
debt
money.
I was
because of
like,
that.
okay. And no,
Great
but I've thankfully
No,
caught
no,
on in
they
that
don't tell
fourth
you you got to
year.
pay them back. They ain't like,
Yeah,
you got all
they
this
give you
money, you got
all this thing. So yeah, so those are big issues for me. Like my daughter will complain, but she's one of the few people in her group that even knows what an IRA is. And I think that's my biggest issue with parents. Like you grew up a certain way, you didn't have certain things, you didn't know certain things, and now you do it. Now you know these things, but you're not teaching to your children.
Yeah.
You're not teaching your children to live better than you're currently living. Like I think I told you this before. I have a friend. We grew up in the projects together. She was on government assistance, and she wasn't happy. She was like, how you get out of this shit? Like, how do you move on? And so I was just giving her tips and things like that. So when she decided to get a job and like better herself and like move out the projects, you know, friends them got upset. And I was like, oh, you think you're better than us? And she's like, what do you mean? You think I want
One
my kids to
better.
grow up in the projects? I want
Exactly.
them to grow up in a house. I grew up in the projects. I don't want to grow up in the projects. So she lost friends because she wanted a better life for her children. And
Wow.
sometimes you have to. Like you have to really watch the people you keep around. I keep
Right.
telling people, even for my family, I see some of my cousins are struggling in life now. And because their parents didn't teach them any better. Their parents were like, well, I grew up in a project. There ain't nothing bad with that. That you could do it too. Ain't nothing bad when you live in a project if you don't want more. You understand? If you feel that's it and that's all, there's nothing more to life, then I feel that's a problem. If that's just a stepping stone to get where you want to go, okay, great. But if you can't see beyond these walls and you don't want your children to see beyond those walls, I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me. Like my kids are be like, yeah, I want to be just like you. I don't want you to be just like me. I want you to be better than me.
Yep.
Like for right now, I renting. I don't want you to rent. I want you to own your own home. I want you to buy your home outright.
Right.
I don't want you to pay no mortgage, nothing. That's my goal for my children now. I want you to be debt free. So I do all the wrong thing with the credit cards, didn't know anything, and I learned everything I learn right now to make sure you make minimal mistakes in life.
Yeah, my mother
Like
always said,
yeah,
live. What you just said, mommy? Learn from my mistakes, don't make them. Like
exactly,
finances was the
exactly.
biggest one. Like if
Hmm.
she hasn't said it before, from the time I was in high school, we have had a conversation about what I was going to do. And when I started
Great,
Exactly.
telling her
Irene.
what college is,
Hmm.
she was like, when I went to college, I took so many loans that I am
Oh
still
God,
I'm still thinking
yeah.
about them right now. She was like, I don't care what you have to do. We remember what I had me
We do
sign
not do loans in this
app,
house. Everything is out of
every
pocket.
app, every scholarship, every this to the
Hmm.
point where
And she thought I was a bully because
I
she
thought
was
she was
My
doing
daughter
the
too.
most. Like,
Hmm.
mommy, please, I want to
second
do
grade. I
well.
was like, "What are you gonna do when you graduate? Like, what are you gonna be?" And she was
Oh
very vocal.
God,
She's like, "I'm in
listen.
second grade, and I
I
think
am
you're
in
a."
junior high school. I don't need to be thinking about what I'm going to law
I
school
told
right
my
now.
daughter,
Like,
okay, this is 12th grade. We're in our final stretch. What's your first plan?
No,
What's
I
your second
started
plan?
from
What we
second
we
doing?
grade.
started from like at
It was
one point I wanted to be
crazy.
a lawyer, and when I was
I
in junior
gotta
high
tell her that because
school,
she thought I was crazy. I'm like,
no,
somebody studied from second grade and
second
you're
grade,
complaining because I studied from 12th grade?
she had me googling how long you have to be in school to become a lawyer, how much does law
Yes.
school cost,
Hmm.
where these funds coming from? Because it's just me, you got nobody else. So
Yeah.
where is this money coming from? And it paid off, because I went to
Yes.
college. I don't have any debt. I never had to take a loan.
Hmm.
I'm grateful,
Exactly.
scholarships all the way, but it paid off from her
Yeah.
not having. My grandmother didn't really teach her like when you go to college, she just
Hmm.
tell her to go college. She didn't tell her what
Yeah.
to pay
And
for
that
it.
was the
Right.
easiest loan to get is a
Yeah.
school loan. It was
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
What?
you
They
oh
could
was
yeah.
giving
get
it
this
away. They was
loan,
giving it
Yep.
away.
and you could get
They
a
were
couple
getting away
schools.
student loan and they were getting away credit card, and I was in debt by the time I was 19.
Hmm.
Oh, real.
Sad.
But
Well, I got crazy credit card story. When I was in school, my dad gave me American Express.
Ooh.
He's like, "This is for
Oh.
emergencies." He gave me one. This is for emergencies. It was a card holder. Wasn't he didn't open up
Hmm.
my own account. I was a card holder.
Hmm.
I said, "All right, cool, whatever." I got the card. Some friends wanted to go. Where do you get furniture? South Carolina or North Carolina? South Carolina.
Read a
Where
what?
we get furniture? We get like we probably make like really good furniture. I think it's South Carolina,
Maybe
North
South
Carolina.
Carolina have a lot of
It's
furniture
one
making.
of the Carolinas, yeah.
One of
Carolina.
them.
Carolina,
Anyway,
yeah.
one of them wanted to go down there to pick up some furniture. God, let's go. You know what I mean?
Oh, Jesus.
Gonna rent a car, not knowing back then, and we talking. This is in the 80s. When we rented the car, they didn't have unlimited mileage,
Mm.
so I'm driving from New York to the Carolinas.
wow.
So when my father
Mm.
when my father see that bill,
Oh
Whew.
my God.
he's like, "You have the card, right?" "Yeah, I have the card. I have the card." I said, "We're paying it though. My friends, we're gonna pay it." "Yeah, I know I'm gonna pay it. I know you. Me worry about that. I'm gonna pay it. You have the card, right?" "Yeah." Cut the card. That was it. That was the end of that. And then of
Oh
course I got
God.
it. And then I got into this thing, you're going to school and you see all these pamphlets for all these different cards. Like, well,
Yeah,
let
Hmm.
me
they
get
put it in your mailbox.
yeah,
Yep.
then let me get a couple of these. And that's how you start the credit card.
Hmm.
Look, my daughter is a doctor, and I tell she the other day, she's sleeping on an air mattress and no furniture. She's a doctor. And I tell her, she's like, Mom, you gonna help me get furniture? I said, why? I said, I sleep on an air mattress. I live in New York with an air mattress on the floor. And one time a rat was going past the air mattress. I said, so if and the TV was on the floor and the air mattress was on the floor, I said, so that's how I see the rat kind of going past the TV.
Oh God.
I said, if I could have lived like that, you okay? He's a doctor with an ear mattress. You'll get furniture by the end of the year. So she said, you coming to visit me? I said, no, can you get furniture? You get furniture, I'll come. I say that to say, it's okay to let them struggle in life because we struggle, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to let them deal with some hardship. I
Yeah.
had Vincent didn't believe in the children. Them they would have never lived like that if Vincent was alive. But
Mhm.
and they don't tell me all the time they miss daddy. When Vincent died, my youngest one cried. She said, "Ain't gonna get no more good Christmas gifts."
Oh
She
God.
Oh
literally cried
God.
tears of her eyes. She said, "We gonna get no more." But my thing is teach them money because when I grew
Exactly.
up, we
Mhm.
struggled. We really struggled a lot, and we almost lost our house many times. And I live with those with I totally the called pain bodies when it comes to money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And my mother couldn't teach me about money because she didn't know it, you
Yeah.
know. And so I always tell the kids like there was never without, no matter what, we were never without because of those all years where I struggled. I always made sure I have to learn these lessons. These is
Mhm.
valuable lessons. If you got a roof over your head and you got air mattress, you got a lot. Be thankful.
Mhm.
Be thankful.
Mhm.
You know.
It's true.
Gratitude.
I think for me, um, my mom, as I've said before, she passed away when I was 20, turning 23. And so um, I learned she was, I think my parenting came from my mom. Like everything from my mom was me and my sister. She lived for us. So she made sure we went to good schools, good colleges. She used to run this summer program for the legislature. So from the time I was 12, 13, I was working every summer. I learned my work ethic from her. And I think I've passed that down to my kids as well. Um, but in terms of finances, that was something that really was not discussed. I did see my mom struggle. My
Mhm.
parents had divorced from the time I was 7. So, um, yeah, we didn't really have financial support from my dad. So I saw my mom struggle a lot, thankfully for her family. But I do see in some instances where I kind of fell into that same thing. But again, I don't ever remember really having like sit down per se conversations about life. I learned from how she lived, um, and how she presented herself in the community, to do the same thing, but never having that sit down conversation. And that's why, again, like Louis says, having the conversation. When I get the opportunity with my kids, with their friends, we sit down and we have those conversations because, again, yes, they can get the information from Google and YouTube,
Mhm.
because I still do. But it's good to just have that sit down um, conversation and talk to them about, my godson and I were sitting down a couple months ago talking about he wanted to purchase a house, but because of the market right now, he's held off on it. But he had waited 7 years. He had a vehicle he had bought 7 years ago, and he had this dream car he wanted. So he decided that since he wasn't going to get the house this year, he would get his car. But he still has the older car, and so he got his what do you call it, Alfa Romero. But he put a substantial amount of money down on it, and his goal is to pay it off in no time. He makes good money. But it's good to sit down and have these conversations because again, when I was that age, I didn't have anyone per se to sit down and have those conversations with. So um, if nothing else, I think that people gain from this is that you are teaching,
Mhm.
whether by action or by audibly speaking to someone, you're teaching. And so you really truly have to be intentional. And like Piki said, even with being a grandparent, I remember having a sit down conversation with my daughter because to me, my grandson seemed like he was on his little phone and tablet a lot. And he's 4. And she made the decision that he can only be on it a certain amount of hours per day, and she's a reader, and so she reads with him. So he's a reader. He can dictate a book to you, um, as if he's reading it. um, and I'm glad that she and his father are really intentional about how they're dealing with him, because again, they are his first teachers.
Mhm.
But Louis, you were going to say something, I think, earlier.
About
Oh, I thought you were going to say something earlier when.
I need to say this before my daughter yell after me, the one with the thing, because she gonna get mad with me. She's very good with money though. Like she'll walk for and she buy her car, she pay off her car in 2 years. Like and she'd always remind me of that. Like, Mom, you know I'm good. She really is. I really can't complain. But I still believe you have to learn certain ways. You know, I don't believe in providing everything for your children, you know. So very good. Brianna, you know you're good out there, you know.
No, still trust you.
And my second son too, like Nikki was telling me, Nikki was telling me the other day, like he was complaining about Christmas gifts, you know, like people want expenses. Why we gotta spend all this money for Christmas buying all these Christmas gifts,
For
you
real.
know? So
I just hope they remember that when she start making that big money, that when you need something, you're gonna be like, you know what, Mom, I think you could hold up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
no,
You gotta
she
No,
ain't gonna
think.
she
treat me
good.
so
She
because
good.
I keep the roof over her head. No, I pay a rent to keep you with a roof over your head, but I ain't gonna furnish your furniture and all that. No. You
But
gotta be without something. You
it's
gotta
about
learn.
balance.
Like you gotta learn.
There's a balance. Right.
Nah, she will never treat me like that. That one that always got my back, my son. So all of them always got my back. Let me just be safe because I ain't
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
every last one of them always got my back. So,
oh,
and the pickle soup was
God.
delicious.
Oh
I was
gosh.
gonna ask you too, Pinky. So you
Huh?
think that your sons? So do you think that your sons act that way towards their significant others because they want to kind of like kind of know you told us about your relationship back in the day and stuff like that. So do you think that they wanted to change that dynamic in their relationships?
For sure. For sure.
That's
For
good.
sure. Because they took on the both of them have that nurturing role, which I would have thought they would have followed the role of the father, who was the provider, you know, but they did not. They're they're cooking and cleaning and nurturing these women, and I sitting back and I was like, wow, you know, it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see. Yeah.
No, that's
My older son looked like he'd do like everything, and he don't complain and he don't be tired, and I'd just be like, wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, I think too. I think in some way they're kind of like looking at their girlfriends as into how they would have wanted you to be treated. You know
needed.
what I'm saying?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that's what's showing up, and that's a good thing. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lucian, because I had a discussion with son girlfriend and my older son fiance, and they were telling me they really want me to find someone that's gonna be good to me and treat me well, because that's what my sons want for me.
right.
So
Right.
they are conscious about how they want a woman to be treated because they know how they want their mom to be treated, which
Very
is
good.
mhm.
A
And
lot of people don't.
that's not a lesson that I taught, right? That's something they
Right.
saw and they came to their conclusions on their own.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they could have. I'm glad that they are aware enough to see, like, to see and want that, for you and for their mates, because a lot of people would have went the other way and
Right.
just
Mm-hmm.
treated their women the way how. So
Right.
Exactly.
that's huge. Yeah,
That's good.
Exactly.
That's actually breaking a generational curse if you want to look at it that way.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. It actually is, you know. And in a lot of ways, a lot of generational curses was broken. Yes, not just
Good.
that one, but many others. The financial one is one for sure, because me and Vincent were married with the rat running across the TV, you know. But and me and Vince was the first in our family to buy homes, and my older son just bought a home, and he's 3 years younger than we were when we bought our first home. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that I seen and I just like all taken back, in total awe. You know what I'm saying? Of course, to God be all glory, because it's not me, it's just the vessel in which I was the vessel, but allowing these lessons to come through me, whatever way they came through, because they didn't always come through in a good way. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
to God be all glory. Yeah.
Yep, that's good. I before we and I just wanted to let everybody know who's listening that you need to go to So Chic or Chic, Chic. Okay, that is Nikia's
My
Facebook page.
baby,
Yes,
my business
for
page. Thank you
business
very much, Debbie.
page. So we
Mhm.
gotta do our young people right. So all you gotta
Yeah,
do
and
is
you don't
go
look
to
so nice in them clothes, girl. I don't know if I'm gonna look like that in them clothes. Like,
I
I
tell her
bought
that
one.
all the time. I tell her that all the time. I like it, but that age appropriate for me. Like,
You buy stuff from me all the time, mommy.
but
They're
I have
all
to
from age
search. I have to
appropriate.
search on, there's certain things she'd have put on, and I say, some crazy people my age gonna think they're gonna look like that. Like they're gonna look at you. And my oldest sister was like, if my waist didn't come all the way down.
Every time I post something, she's like, in 20 years ago.
My sister would be like, when I had a collarbone,
When I had
I
a
couldn't wear that.
collarbone.
I try to get her to get age appropriate, like my age
I
group
have many
stuff.
age appropriate
And
items,
she's
and if you
like,
have any
Mommy,
questions, you
I
could
have to
DM
look
me.
at my audience. And I'm like,
Yeah, but you don't look so good in the clothes. We want to look like that.
yeah.
yeah. My friends
That's-
will be like, she have this in my size, and I'll be like,
I was like, man, I want to wear that. I want to wear that, and I want to look like that in that. Okay,
Mhm.
not 4 children later in this, but not.
yes, but it's always on my page, so chic. I think
Yes.
one of the things I learned from my parents, especially my dad, is to be your kid's biggest fan. Like my
Mhm.
dad wasn't the mushy type of father, but I knew if nothing else in this world exists, my dad was like Hulk. He was like King Kong. He was like everything because he was always my biggest fan. He would out. You knew, like, he didn't verbalize it, but I knew that I was a shit. Like,
Yeah.
it was hands down, and that was intentional. Like, he always used to. He would make jokes, but we knew it by what he did, his actions. And for
Right.
me, my actions with my kids is to, like you said, be intentional, but
Right.
like when I know better, I do better. I unintentionally know that. Like, there's a lot of things I won't taught, but I learned and I
Hmm.
Mhm.
poured into my kids. Like, I know they get sick of me, but you just kill them with information, and at some point they're gonna catch it. Like,
Yeah.
some point they're gonna catch the lesson. And being their biggest fan, like I'm like her biggest fan. Like, like I'm her cheerleader. And if nobody else believes in you, your kids have to know you believe in them.
Right.
Like,
And
Mhm.
it's
my
true.
kids, sometimes I'll be like, I don't understand how people get bullied because anybody mess with me in school, I tell him my father. And my father was the kind of father who would meet you at the bus stop and collar you up and let you know he got 5 girls and nobody messed with us. It was so bad nobody dated us in the neighborhood, like, at all, because they were always fearful of my dad.
Mhm.
But that
Right.
because he was our biggest protector and provider. And my kids does the same thing. If anybody mess with it, even as big as they is now, they're gonna tell their mother. I, even at their job, like, you want me to handle it? Like, you want me to write one of those little HR letters?
She's gonna write them a letter.
Like,
I do that to my daughter all the time. I'm like, hold up, that don't sound right.
no,
Let
I'd
me
be like,
see
no,
what it
let
says
me pull
because
some of the
that's not
policies,
good.
laws,
She
rules,
will
and
pull up
right.
all these federal policies. Like, this is what you need to say. This is what you need to
Exactly.
tell
Every time my
them. And
daughter
if they
working it,
ask
I'm
you
like,
this,
are you getting paid for these hours? Are you still on a
No, no.
clock? Did you
I
get the
said,
punch
please
out?
let
Like,
them know,
no,
according
all the
to the
time.
FLSA Act of 2020,
Yes.
that, and I tell them exactly what
No,
to say.
but it's so true. And again, in our community, um, we really have to be careful what we speak into our children's
Mhm.
lives, and again, I see it. Because again, when you know better, you do better.
Mhm.
I know that. Like, I never talk down to my children or whatever, but I am even more so intentional with my grandson.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
so when my daughter was pregnant, I used to pray over her belly, and I used to be like, "Oh, you're gonna be handsome and this and da da da." And then when he was born, I used to pray over him. And now that little boy is like, I gonna big him up even more because he's my grandson. But he is
Yeah.
like, everybody who comes in contact with him is like, this kid is like special,
Amazing.
right?
Yep.
But it is truly how they speak to him, how we speak to him, how, like you said, his biggest cheerleader, always bigging him up, and giving him that he don't have like, and it's funny because one time I fussed at him and I never do because I was trying to do a video for
Mhm.
LNE and I was like on take number 30, and right when I got to the end of it, he ran outside to say something to me, and I fussed with him. Let me tell you, he almost had a breakdown because I've
Oh,
never spoken to him, like raised my
Mhm.
voice at him, and it was like it made me feel so bad. But it's true, we really do have to be their
Mhm.
safe their safe place.
Yeah.
Um, and encourage her, if we really want them to, because I say the same thing to my kids. I want you to do and be better than me.
Yep.
And that's just something I say. So again, we just got to be more intentional. And I really appreciate you, Nakia, for you
yes.
know expressing all of the things that you have learned from your mom, and
Mhm.
Karen for doing a really great job, not even necessarily always knowing what you were doing and continuing to do. Um, and the same thing with you, Halima, because I know that you are intentional with your girls as well.
Yeah.
Um, and Louis for loving on yours, because
Yeah.
um, we live in a crazy world right now, and dads are
Um,
very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm saying all this too because eventually Lucien gonna bring a little Lucien into this world. So with all this information that Lucien better be, we talking around.
he's like he's like, what's the saying you're talking about?
Don't worry, don't worry. We're gonna come back to this January 6th, 2022,
He looking
and I'm
around
gonna
like,
say, you remember when you look around. But
you
yeah,
talking to me?
exactly. And Trina, um, again, Trina's kids are my nieces and nephews, and like I just think about even Rihanna. Rihanna was a little timid little thing, as a baby, scared of her own shadow, but she walked for the first time for me. So,
For
and she
food.
is for food.
Oh, I had one of those.
For food, that's true. It was for
I
food.
had one of those that walk for food. Like my
Yeah,
oldest daughter, she walked for food.
yeah.
It was
Oh wow.
fungi. It was kalalo fungi, right, Debbie?
I think so.
It has to be fungi because she walked for fungi and it was
And
called
she
fungi.
still love a fungi, my son. I don't care. Kalalo fungi.
Oh God. But I do think that we need to have these conversations in families when you get together. Sit down and have these conversations with your kids and ask your kids what it is you're teaching them. Because you'd be surprised. I'm not gonna read it, but my older daughter, she wrote a whole dissertation, and I was like, what? So, sometimes when you think like, oh, I'm doing such a really great job, or I did this, and then basically in one of them, she was like, you didn't really teach me anything.
Wow.
But it's true. I mean, so
Well,
if
I think
you
I
want to
think
have an
sometimes
open dialogue, go ahead.
I don't think if you don't teach you anything. I think that the time has not come that what you taught them comes back to them.
Right, right.
You know what I'm
Debbie
saying?
teach them. She
So
teach them a lot.
I
The
taught them
Mari
a
be
lot.
the
exactly.
Mari
You
being
just
a
don't need
reader.
it yet.
How the Mari is with baby boy Jameer.
Uh-huh.
That's how you was.
Yeah, I was. I was.
She probably don't remember
I think it's
again
because
because
they were like, why are you asking us all these questions? And I had asked them this several
Mhm.
days ago. And then, of course, like 3 hours ago, nobody answered me yet. And so they probably were rushing. But yeah, I know. I mean, even the self care, like my kids know I am not doing it right now, but they know from the time they were born, I always went and did my nails. Like that's just something I did. I did my feet. Like even my sister to say it, I don't even do that, and you do that. That's the one thing I could say that I did do for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, they just didn't have the time to really think about it, I guess. But I know they've learned a lot from me.
and a lot of times they don't realize like we learn too. I was talking to a friend the other day. They showed up in the wall by being a great husband to his wife because he didn't see that. And that's how we learn too. We
Right.
learn a lot in life sometimes. We see our parents doing certain things and we say, no, me ain't gonna be that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like how I was with my mom and the money. I was like, I'm not gonna be like that, mom, you know? And I remember when you just say you ain't gonna do certain things because you see it and
Right.
you didn't like what you saw. And
Right.
that is learning too.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a
Mm-hmm.
very valuable lesson because it's like Lucian said, they could have actually been unconscious about it and just follow into the footsteps, but they actually decided to do different.
Different.
That's
Exactly.
learning.
It's true. It's true because
That's huge.
even with Jameer, like I remember having a conversation with them too. I was like, he's not a kid you need to beat. Like he doesn't like you to reprimand him. You can use psychology. You don't have he's not that kid that you have to be. I'm not gonna say there aren't some kids that need a little spanking, but he's just not that kid. He really doesn't need it. And I'm glad to see that they have evolved to that point too where they realize that he doesn't. You can correct him without doing that. You can have a conversation and he's 4. So it's making the
And
decision.
Debbie to have elaborate conversation with these young people. They gotta be like, Debbie, they don't understand, you know. Like,
Well,
I
because
should
this is me.
explain why. It's just
This is
like
me. When I do talk a lot, but what I try to explain to them is like, if I'm correcting you about something here at home, there is a
Mhm.
bigger learning there's a bigger learning curve out there in the world. So
and that's how Sean talked to them about learning curve. And I was like, they don't know
Trust
nothing
me.
about no learning curve at 5, Debbie.
trust me, they don't know. They don't know.
See?
They don't know.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And that's just gone. They understand what a loving curve is. I know this 5 years old, but I understand a loving curve. And I was
These
like, a
children
learning
nowadays know
curve.
way more than we ever could even think about knowing. Trust me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
it's just like,
and that's
like
because
go ahead.
they have more information than we did.
They do,
Mhm.
and they're
Stuff
exposed to a
that
lot more.
the more exposed. Like we were so
Exactly.
sheltered. TV was still kind of in black and white. Well, not for me really.
No, it wasn't for me
I
either.
had colors.
I
Um,
had.
Talking about your
Who
black
you
and white.
talking about?
You
I
could
mean, we had
stand
just
there,
like
Lucian. Like,
we have-
no, we never see a black and white TV in our whole.
yeah, we had no black and white TV. Sorry, I'm talking more like
Oh,
But then we had like the first little dial-up thing, and then we have cable. But they have
Mhm.
all of that. They
Right.
have all of that.
They do. They do.
And
'Cause I was
even know
even
like black.
I was even telling them, Lucian, tonight, my daughter bought her goddaughter, my little grandbaby. They bought her a Lego, like a Mario Lego. And the
Mhm.
Yeah.
thing about it now is that it comes with a little booklet and it tells you how to do like a couple of the steps, but then it has a QR code that you have to use a phone or a tablet or iPad to get the rest of the directions how to put it together. She's 4.
Wow.
That's the
Wow.
world they're living in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They
but
don't.
I was hoping by now we'd have flying cars. So hey,
Oh, they do
I'm
exist.
disappointed too.
They do exist.
the Jetsons cars.
They have flying cars. They do
Yeah,
exist.
but not the
You can Google
Jetsons.
that,
Yeah.
but not mass produced. But they do have
Yeah.
cars that fly.
Yeah.
Cars that
But
But they're
anyhow,
stylish too. Louis. I mean, like how they look. They look kind of.
No, yeah, they look a little, but we're getting there to
We're getting there.
Yeah,
I
we
want.
are.
I want like
We
let me get
are.
like an Aston Martin or something like flies. I mean, that's something stylish. But
Oh
Elon
God.
Musk will build it eventually, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank our guest again,
Thank you
Nikia.
for having me.
Yeah, you're the
This
guest.
was fun.
And you have to come back, honey. You have to come back.
Yeah, you
I
definitely
would
have to come
love to.
back.
Now that I'm in the group, I'll tune in. I'll come back if you need me.
And
Wonderful.
comment too.
And,
Comment
I will,
too.
yes.
bring
Wonderful.
some more young people and
I will
young
engage.
because again, the whole point of this is to create a legacy and a community of healthier people.
Yeah.
So we
Maybe we
can't.
could have you and your boo come on one time. That would be interesting.
I could barely get you to take pictures with me to put you on top of our whole live on Facebook. My boyfriend doesn't
Baby
even
steps, baby steps,
he don't
baby
even have
steps, right?
let me make a Facebook first.
All right.
Maybe you don't need him to have a Facebook. Let's put it that way. Anyhow,
We're gonna bring
I'll make
Luna.
that.
We'll bring Luna. We'll start with a dog and then
Where's Oh, show Lucy and Luna.
She probably sleeping. Luna, she's sleeping. You know she's smart. Come, mommy, come.
That's my grandbaby.
Hold on.
Y'all, I just had my two grandbabies here, and I ended up getting my first lip kiss from baby
Oh,
girl.
Mm-mm.
So she been trying to kiss me since Thanksgiving, and I wouldn't let her kiss me, right? And so she was leaving, and I said, "Come, baby, give mama a kiss, give mama a kiss." And she didn't want to talk to me, but because she wanted to go to the door, so she run back and she gave me a very quick kiss before I could have said no, right? Because I didn't really want a kiss. So she come, she run, she kissed me at the lips. I felt her tongue, and I haven't had a tongue kiss in a very long time, and I really didn't want
Oh,
it from a
Jesus.
dog.
Oh,
I really didn't want it from a dog.
oh my God.
It was wet, and I was like, "Wow, me had a kiss in a long time. It coming
Oh
from
my
a
God.
dog. I
Ain't
guess
you?
I got just take it."
Jeez, Dumbred. What kind of dog is
Uh,
She's a
Nikia?
Shih Tzu.
She's a sheep or horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's
4 months
cute.
old, my little baby. The only
And what
grandchild
kind
she's
is she?
been for a while. A Shih Tzu. She was sleeping, so she's
That's as
So
close
she
as
does
I'm gonna
shed
get
a
to
lot. She does shed
grandbabies.
a
Then.
lot.
only now when they're like in within their first 6 months, they have like a puppy coat they're supposed to shed. Is less now than when she was like a few months ago. It was way worse. Like now you probably see it here and there, but she went to get groomed today and it's I don't have hair on me, so I think it's stopping. But typically like in the first 6 months they do shed their puppy coat. But she's decent.
Cool.
I need one that
Okay.
don't shed because I got dog hair all over the place.
Get a poodle. Poodles don't shed. They don't shed and they're the smartest dogs in the world.
My grandbabies is Shiba
Peoples?
Inus. Yeah.
Shiba Inu. Oh.
y'all know that we're still online, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are. We
so
definitely
let's wrap this up. Debbie,
So we will
We could do this in the back end
tell
conversation.
exactly. We will tell everybody good night.
Mhm.
Please, please, please stay safe. Lucien, you sounded like you need some more Dr. Williams Bush. Um, um, and have a great weekend. And we will see you back next week, Thursday.
definitely. Thanks,
Bye,
Good
everyone.
night,
guys.
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks, Salima. Thanks, Akia, Karen, of course,
Thank
Lucien.
you. Have a good one,
Debbie,
everybody.
wishing everybody good things, great things, beautiful things.
And wonderful things.
Adios.
Wonderful things. And let's break that generational curse and add more
Yes.
generational blessings.
Yes,
Amen.
yes,
There we
yes.
go.
Man.